All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, I want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came in like this. Somebody asked, thinking about past mistakes, how do we get around not feeling like a piece of dirt for things we've done wrong? So guilt is good in a certain way, right? Meaning that if a person feels bad about what they do, that's already one aspect. That's already one aspect of tshuva, right? It's one aspect of repentance, right? I also I have to have regret, I have to have remorse. First, that say they're never going to do whatever they did again. I have to make a plan how they're not going to do it, right? And I may have to go through Yom Kippur certainly as well. But it's a very good start for somebody to have somebody feel bad. Somebody feel bad about what they've done. Now, the only problem is, where does that take you? How far does that go? Because if a person's obsessed by it, in other words, they can't stop thinking about it and how horrible they are and what it does, in the spiritual world and the damage it causes and it makes them further away from God, okay? These are good things. These are good things in general. But, and of course, we say there's always a but. And what's the but over here? The but is that even though sometimes, or maybe many times, we give into our evil inclination, we got to feel bad what we've done. If the person doesn't feel bad what they've done, that's a problem. Right? In other words, they're doing things and they think it's permissible. Right? Eventually, that's what Rabbi Yonah says in Shari Tshuva, in the gate to repentance. The person does things, the first time he does it, it feels very bad. How could I have done it? And this and that. Feel really bad, it's one thing. Do it second time, they also feel really bad. Third time, they also feel really bad. But eventually, they get used to it. But here, if you're not getting used to it, and you're fighting hard against it, you really feel bad, that's good. Right? It's good in the sense where God wants to see, at least you feel bad. At least you have regret. At least you have remorse. That's part of the process. That's part of the process of repentance. At the same time, if a person obsesses on it, and they're OCD, let's say, obsessive compulsive, and they're thinking, how could I ever pray tomorrow? Look what I just did. Look what I did the day before. Look what they won't do anything. They'll be paralyzed. Now, that doesn't mean just blow it off. It doesn't mean that a person, should think, oh, I didn't really do anything that bad. God's going to understand. I'm really trying. I'm really working hard. So to speak. I'm doing all these things. But God will say, okay. God will say, don't worry. You're trying hard. You're working hard. That's good enough. Right? What's the problem? The double-edged sword. One thing is you cannot just blow it off. And you can't just say, well, God will understand even though I'm doing more than most Jews. Yeah. Even if I learn a lot, even if I make the right blessings and, this and that. One does not offset the other. But the person also has to realize, okay, we make mistakes. We have to get to the root of what the mistake is. Might be good if I do this group thing once a week, how to deal with this issue. How to properly look at it, from a Torah perspective. Because the evil inclination will tell you, you're no good, you'll never get it right, you can never do it, look at all these terrible things you've done. On the other hand, you don't blow it off either and just say, well, God will understand. I'll go through repentance on this, but again, a person cannot say, I'm going to repent. I'm going to do this transgression, and then I'm going to repent. Right? That doesn't work. That 100% doesn't work. But as my Rebbe would say, if you live in the past, you have no future. So I can't constantly be thinking about it. The better thing would be, figure out what the root of the problem is. Figure out why you do it. What causes a person to do it? And then make 10 different plans how you're going to fight that. Because how does the person really sin in general? Person sins in general. The Gemara says, when niknas boy ruach shtus, when enters a person foolish thoughts, it means your mind is free from Torah mitzvahs. When a person's free, and they have free time, and they're not concentrating what they need to do, the person can sin. Or the person gets into bad habits. Or I've done this for so long, how can I stop? How can I stop? Yeah, so that's the problem in general. If a person sins, whatever they do, and now, as we always say, it becomes part of your nature. How do you fight your nature? Something is now a part of your DNA. Okay. Let's say God made us that way. We'll make it very easy. You didn't do it. Wasn't your fault. God wired you a certain way. Right? We mentioned this many times. So if God wired you a certain way, doesn't matter. Who says he wants you to work on it? Who wants you to act on it? Because, what can a person claim? A person can claim after 120 years, they get upstairs, God's going to say, you did this, you did that, you did the other thing. Okay. You did a lot of things. What's a person going to claim? I was under honest. It was beyond my capability. Not my fault. He'll say, you wired me this way. So what do you want from me? Sometimes I was able to overcome it, other times not. And maybe many times wasn't able to overcome it. So a person can easily make the claim, I'm under onus. Right? God hardened, we say in Boston, Pharaoh's heart. He hardened his heart. So why did he punish him? Right? All the commentators ask the question. Not fair. If God's playing him like a rag doll and controlling him and controlling his thoughts, why is he punished? He's not able to repent. He shouldn't be punished. So different reasons given why that's the case. But we could easily claim wrongly. But I'm wired this way. Let's say better. God, you wired me this way. There are people who want to claim that someone's a homosexual, you get a homosexual gene. Doctor once told me this many years ago. Yeah. But we have a lot of bad genes. Anger genes. Desire genes. Lazy genes. Not wanting to pray genes. Million things we could claim. It even hasn't been proven. Now, let's say we'll use homosexuality as an example. Get a little controversial here. Let's say someone has more of a desire than that. It's an unnatural desire because the Torah says it's unnatural. Because the Torah says man's going to cling to a woman, not another man. And then in Leviticus chapter 18, it says homosexuality is forbidden. And bestiality is forbidden. We also learn out that lesbianism is forbidden, right? And it should be forbidden for non-Jews also. Yeah, it's also forbidden. So let's say, I heard, I'm not going to call him a rabbi, but I heard somebody say, the kid by the age of 3, this kid was playing with dolls and he was more feminine. So, is any great shakes over here? He grows up to become homosexual. Then you really think, he says, I know the Orthodox are going to be upset with me saying this. Yeah, because it's heresy. He says, really think God's going to punish him? Because he became homosexual? That's what his tendency was from a little kid. Let's say it's true. I would be generous here. Let's say that is true. Let's say it's true, yeah. Right? Let's say it's true. What's the answer? So that means that person has more of a tendency to that. Okay. And there are people that every little thing, they get very angry. And they have more of a tendency to that. Or other things. Right? What to do? You say, well, that's genetic. We're a product of our parents, for better or for worse. So we got good character traits, bad character traits. It's part of our DNA. And then a lot of it we do to ourselves. But let's say whatever DNA they gave us, for better or for worse. Yeah, I can tell you I'm affected by it. We are. Doesn't mean you can't overcome it. It just means you have a more difficult disposition in certain things. And not everyone has the same. They don't, we're different. Everybody's different. We have different faces, similar bodies in different ways, in many ways. But we're different. Everybody's different. So everyone has different things they have to work on. Now, there are certain things we all have to work on. There's no question. But some have a certain disposition that's greater than others. You ever met someone that gets mad at the drop of a hat for nothing? Seemingly for nothing? And you get other people, you never see them get mad. Or very rarely they get mad. Now, what does that tell you? They have different natures. The person gets mad at every little thing that has to be worked on. Sure, it can be worked on. Is it going to be easy to be worked on? Oh, we didn't say that. It's like any bad character trait. To uproot it is very hard. Right? But you have to work on it. There are certain things that are worse. And imagine someone's been pampered thinking they're God's gift to the world. You don't think they have to work on being conceited? Right? Being conceited, the base is the hopes of others, the duties of the heart, and the ways of the righteous, and others say that's the base of all bad character traits. So if someone's pampered and they build on that and build on that, isn't that going to be real hard? Isn't that going to be real hard to change? Oh, yeah. Take people with the most fragile egos, or egos, as we would say here, in Israel. You'll take people with the most fragile egos, professional athletes, actors, actresses. A lot of them got a lot of money, but they never, they've been pampered. They've been seriously pampered. Is it any wonder? Jew or non-Jew, doesn't matter. Is it any wonder any of them, have big egos? And they think they're better than you because they can shoot a ball, or throw a ball, or hit a ball, or act well. So there's some people not like that, okay? Some people are not, even if they are pampered. They know where they came from. They have humble beginnings, pretty much like everyone. So those people don't act on it. They don't believe the hype that they say about them, okay? I'm not going to take a percentage here, but I would think a lot of people, were pampered from a very young age in different things. They get what they want. Because they can do what they want, they get what they want, they get away with a lot of things. A lot of things. Now, someone who grew up like that, isn't that going to be hard for them not to be conceited? Couldn't they make the claim? They could easily make the claim after 120 years and say, God, what do you want? This is how I was brought up. This is what happened. God says, very good. So you had it tougher than most people in this aspect. But that led you to do X, Y, and Z. And look down upon people and think you're God's gift to the world. Because everyone else told you that. Who says you're allowed to act on it? We're going to say, I was given a bad disposition. Okay. Let's take a survey. How many people grew up with bad dispositions? Everybody. Even a person had a silver spoon in their mouth. They also had a bad disposition. Everybody has some bad disposition somewhere. Dealing with family, friends, maybe they can't learn well. They have learning disabilities. Got made fun for that. They got bullied. Who knows? Who knows? A lot of people have a lot of things to complain about. Right? That's the whole purpose of this group. I want to get off the ground. And the 101, because everyone's got a lot to complain about. Tons of things. Family, right? How do you deal with family that are anti-Semites? Get that question a lot. Make fun of Torah mitzvahs, right? And, and a non-Jew, or even a Jew for that matter, doesn't matter. You can have self-hating Jews. You're definitely going to have self-hating Jews. All they do is make fun of Judaism. Yeah, these are issues. These are real issues. So we're not in charge, right? That's the first thing. Pirkei Avos says, you're born against your will, you die against your will, right? So Kaufman would say, in parentheses, you still have to live. Everyone's got skeletons somewhere. Things they're not proud about. Whether they were done to them, they did to others, whatever. No one's got a perfect life. Nobody. And the person's got money, they have health issues. If they have money, don't have health issues, issues with family, issues with a spouse, kids, all kinds of things. No one gets off scot-free. But how do you look at it from a Torah perspective? Everyone's dealt with a certain hand. And most people will take their, what they're going through, not what anyone else is going through. No matter how bad what they're going through. Right? It's very easy, again, I'm not a psychologist here. That's not what the point of what I want to do. Not about psychology, right? It's about looking at the bigger picture. Understanding where it comes from and how it affects you. And how you shouldn't let it affect you. Depends what it is. Right? In this case, question at hand. So a person really feels bad about what they do. Okay. That's very good in some ways. That's good guilt. That means you want to work hard. That means you want to be closer to God. That means you want to work on things. Very good. But if you become obsessed by it, what happens if you become obsessed by it? Are you going to get out of bed? Are you going to function? You're going to feel crummy. Right? And what if someone's told I had this, whatever, a while ago? Someone's told they desecrate Shabbos. Doesn't matter. They're it's against their will or not. They desecrate Shabbos. Certain level of hell they never get out of, or they can't get out of. That person comes to me and is broken. But this person says, it's Rabbi says, I can't get out of Gehenna. I can't get out of hell. I'll be stuck at the 3rd level, 4th level, 8th level, whatever it is. You know what my answer was? First of all, you're under onus. Right? Parents were forced to do things on Shabbos. Couldn't stand up to them. That's onus. But I'm doing it on purpose. Why are you doing it on purpose to break Shabbos? Right? Let's analyze. Why are you doing it on purpose to break Shabbos? Because you're afraid of your parents. And then at some point, a person gets smacked. Father smacks him, pick this thing up. We need Shabbos. I don't care about Shabbos. Now the person's afraid. Ready to get beaten up. The real fear. You want to tell me someone like that's never getting out the 7th level of Gehenna? So I say, okay, so it's a good thing a person knows, according to Kabbalah. Okay, very good. But this person comes to me and says, why should I keep Torah mitzvahs? Why should I keep Torah mitzvahs? It's a Jew talking, not a non-Jew. So why should I keep Torah mitzvahs? I said, because you got an obligation. I said, forget about what this Kabbalah says. Even if it would be very hard, you're not holding by Kabbalah. And most people listening are not holding by Kabbalah. It's a good fear tactic, okay? It's a good fear tactic. You took it to heart, okay? But how does that help this person? Let me ask the $1.5 million question. This person got destroyed. Destroyed. Person says, I don't want to keep Torah mitzvahs anymore. There's no point. Okay, a person wants to scare people, and they want to say, if you do this and you do that, certain levels you don't get out of. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't care. Who's holding by Kabbalah, for goodness sakes? You want to scare people, good. But you got to give them a way out. You can't leave them there. Because then the person becomes paranoid. More than paranoid. I'll never get out. It's not worth it. Why should I bother doing anything? So you know what my answer was? I gave a very simple answer. Stop listening to these rabbis. That was my answer. Stop listening to them. No, but I love it. It's great muster. No, it's not great muster for you. Because you're getting demolished by it. If you can handle it, you like it, okay. I don't have an issue with that. I know where they're coming from. Yeah. But how does that help in this case? They may help other people, okay? They may help tens of thousands of people. I have no issue with that. That's fine. But if you paralyze someone and you destroy them in the process, unless they missed the boat on what they said, yeah, they're not helping them. They're destroying them. No mitzvah to destroy someone if you don't give them a way out to help them. I can all sit there yelling, screaming, this and that, say all kinds of things. People never get out of bed because it scares the wits out of them. They never, ever, ever get out of bed. There are certain things I may say certain things here and there. But you got to give people a way out. Right? In this case, what's the way out? What's the way out? Person feels very bad, all the mistakes they make. Okay, stop making the mistakes. How do I stop making the mistakes? Oh, it's a good question. Depends what it is. Right? But Carpenter's law is get to the root. Why? Why is it being done? Yeah. And then try and figure out ways to stop it. But don't be paralyzed because of it. Don't blow it off either and say, well, Rabbi says you live in the past, you have no future, what my Rabbi says. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But you don't want to keep making the same mistakes again. But you have to remember one thing also. And that is, this is the way of Moreno Rabbeinu, the yetzer hara. This is what the yetzer hara wants. The yetzer hara wants to beat you down like no tomorrow. And say, see, you made the same mistake again. Say, you made the other mistake. Say, you did this. Say, you did that. The yetzer hara wants to paralyze. That's what's going on. The more you think about it, why do you think you think about it? The yetzer hara wants you to think about it. And the more you think about it, the worse you feel. Now, if that's going to be motivation to really repent, to really get to the crux of what's going on, okay. If it's going to make you feel depressed and not want to do anything and just keep beating yourself down, that's bad. Yeah. And even people who got beaten down in life, everybody has at some level, some more, some less. Some more, some less. Nonetheless, nobody's really that bad. And no one's been bullied. No one likes to be bullied. And even if you're a little bit different, so what? But it causes serious problems when we're younger. Then we don't fit in, and people make fun, and this is very hard. But it carries over to adulthood also. Then eventually what happens? You keep hearing the same thing over and over again. You keep drinking the same stupid Kool-Aid. Right? I call it stupid because the person's, shouldn't be thinking it that bad, no matter what people say. Sticks and stones. Yeah. I tell you what people said to me. I mentioned a number of times different things. Yeah. I learned the hard way and the easy way how to deal with it. And the easy way is, as we always said, these people are insane. I'm not going to take what someone who's insane takes. I'm not going to take what they say seriously. I'm just not. Right? Like someone said, oh, is that one of the rules? You can't think Torah in the bathroom. Yeah, it's one of the rules. What are they doing? They're making fun. Okay. I'm not going to let them get to me. I could have said some nastier things. Like, yeah, my 7-year-old grandson knows more than that. You're just an ignorant. I could have made fun. I could have said a lot of things. You know what? Two wrongs don't make it right. I'm going to sit there and take seriously someone can't even read the alphabet. You want to quote something I don't know, or I made a mistake. Okay. Not perfect. By any stretch. One of the things I don't know. Okay. But I guarantee you, someone's going to talk out of their elbow or some other place so their body will keep this clean. And they can barely read the alphabet. Yeah, I'll entertain the possibility of what you have to say. I'll entertain it. You'll take it that seriously? And all you're going to do is sit there and make fun? Come on. I saw something, a while ago. Some actor makes the whole thing. It's like, this religious stuff, whatever. It's like going on and on. Like going on and on. No normal person would believe in this stuff. It's a bunch of fairy tales and it, whatever. I'm going to take what they say seriously. Here's a person to say that, Matt, I never want to have kids. Never want to have kids. Now, there are people like that. I had someone a number of years ago like that. They said, do I transgress anything? I said, well, as a non-Jew, there's a mitzvah to have children that populate the world. I said, besides that, no, but for a woman to say it, it's a lot stranger. I would say it's a lot stranger. To say that she doesn't want to have kids more than a man. A man I can understand to a point. Yeah, everyone wants continuity. Some people don't merit it. Okay, they want continuity. They want next generation. For better, for worse, whatever it is. But a woman's nature is to want to have a child, at least one. I know someone who would beg to have a child naturally. Not adopted or, a stepchild. Naturally, never going to happen. I mean, it'd be absolutely miraculous if it did, but never going to happen. They got burned by the system. Whatever, I'm not going to go into details, but the point is, they got burned. They totally got burned. All they want is to have a natural child. Clock's ticking, and there are other issues, so probably never going to happen. But it must be hard, though. I said, yeah, they dealt with it, different things. But imagine, this person has, let's say, nieces and nephews. They get married young and have all these kids. And they can't even have one naturally. You don't think that hits them right in the face? Oh, I think it hits them right in the face. They deal with it, whatever defense mechanism they use. But that has to be real painful. And this person only got married at the age of 37. Why get married younger? And then there were problems with her, problems with the person she married, whatever. I'm not saying it's not overcome. Could have been, some ways, potentially. But certain things they didn't know. And if they would have known younger, they wouldn't have waited. Yeah. Well, it wasn't like they were looking to get married either. So they got messed up by the system. But imagine what that is. Again, I'm a guy. I can understand, somewhat from a guy's perspective. Maybe. Not to want to have a child, but it's hard to understand also. You don't want to have any continuity. You don't have a next generation. Don't care where you're holding mentally and different things. Not even going into that. What you're going to give the child and what you know and whatever. Who doesn't want a next generation? Some people never happen, okay? Some people shouldn't have children, maybe. I don't think that's true. But, what do you see over here? For a woman to say that? I mean, today's a way different generation. The whole different thing going on today. I'm talking about someone who's in their 60s. This is, I don't know, it's to be 3-4 years ago at least. I think the person either late 50s or early 60s. This woman tells me. She said, is that a bad thing? It's unnatural. Definitely unnatural. I mean, they weren't going to convert for other reasons, so it doesn't matter. But even as a non-Jew, there's an obligation to have children, to bring children into the world. But for a woman to say they never want to have kids, strange. Say what you want about feminism and this and that. A woman wants to have a child. That's her nature. At least one. Maybe two if you're lucky. Yeah, at least one. Their own child. They're not a stepchild. They're not adopted. So for a woman to say there's something wrong, there's definitely something wrong. But I don't want to digress here. This is what the evil inclination does. The evil inclination beats us down. So in such a case, okay, we should feel bad. We make mistakes. However, we should feel bad. We make mistakes. Person can't obsess of it though, because if you do, you won't function. Then every single time you'll second guess, I should have done this or whatever. Okay, you got to make a plan, a realistic plan. How not to do these things. That I understand. But to be totally demolished and not be able to function in general, or it leads, it could cause depression, cause you not want to do mitzvahs, maybe I'll make a mistake. That's the evil inclination. So a person has to realize, okay, this is what the evil inclination does. I have to be a better person. I have to work harder. I have to do different things. It's true. That 100% is true. But at the end of the day, you still have to function every day. Can't give in to the evil inclination. Right? You have to say, okay, I made a mistake. Made a mistake yesterday. Made a mistake the day before. So instead of making mistakes, figure out what the source of the mistake is. But again, what's the problem? We're creatures of habit. So we do things almost by rote. We don't even think. And that we have to uproot. That's worse. That's akin to spiritual death. Just doing things by rote. The same thing I did yesterday, the day before, and how I prayed yesterday. And there's all these things. All these things I got to look at every day is a new day. I'm a new creation. Can't be doing and thinking the same things I did yesterday. It's all about growth. Either I'm going up or going down. Right? Seemingly nothing in between. Right? If I'm staying static, and I've heard some people say this, I'm good. I'm happy being mediocre. Yeah, that's akin to spiritual death. That's a disaster. Go into a job interview, say I'm happy, I just do things, on a mediocre level. You'll never be hired. Never. Happy being mediocre? Yeah, a bunch of questions here. Someone asks, question I have is, we're in the year 5783, right? Are they finding cities inhabited dated older than that? Oh. Ask a different question. What about the age of the universe? Right? That's really the question. That's really the question. Right? So what's one answer? What's one answer? What about, these fossils, they say they're billions of years old. Yeah. So one answer is they could look a billion years old. You're going to say, but the world's only 5,700 years. Now, couldn't it be that this thing also is only that amount, that it's only 5,700 years old? But science says it's billions of years. Could God have allowed them to make serious mistakes and then everyone drinks the Kool-Aid and say it's true? That's what everyone will say. But how do we look at the age of the universe? One potential way is I got 6 days of creation. Now the Ramban over there says, I got 6 days of creation. How many hours in a day according to creation? 24. Says the Ramban. Nachmanides is the Ramban. Now the question is, I got 6 days. Where is the person standing during those 6 days? If you're standing in a place where I got a 24-hour cycle, okay? And for you, it's 24 hours. If you're somewhere in the middle of space, yeah? If you're somewhere in the middle of space, now, what did your day look like? Could your day, in theory, be not 24 hours? It could be a heck of a lot longer than that. Your one day could be 150 years because you're outside. You're somewhere else. What if I'm not half in space? What if I'm closer? Okay, so your day is shorter. Other person's day is longer. It's perspective. One potential answer. So those 6 days, maybe it's a whole different clock. There's a whole different clock. But you're going to say, but these cities, we're not talking about in space. Right? So it depends on perspective. Right? One thing I think has been proven, from what I know about carbon dating is, if you're going to claim to use carbon dating to prove all this, how long, has carbon been in the atmosphere? Billion years? 5 billion years? Maybe people will claim. I think one answer is 5,000 something years. So how can they claim it's more than that? Right? Who says science is right here? They're making a claim. Yeah, based on whatever science says. So one aspect is where you are in the world. Another aspect is this is going to be the evil inclination. Right? In order to trick people, say, look, I got something produced over here. They're finding things. I'm 1 million years old, 5 billion years old, 10 billion years old, who knows what. And they're finding it so long, right? So long ago. Yeah. So who says according to them, that's what it is? Couldn't it be dressed up looking much older, quote unquote, than it really is? Possibility. Science won't say that. It's not scientific. We got hard evidence. But couldn't it be that, according to them, they'll dress it up and say, yeah, that's how old it is? Who says that's true? Their perspective. Their perspective. And if you look into this, a lot of what they say is not foolproof by any stretch. Even though, there is a religion called science that people hold by like no tomorrow. And everything else is all, it's not conjecture. Everything else is false according to them. Because I got concrete proof. Yeah. We got Einstein, you got Stephen Hawking, show that not just there's a Big Bang, but the world is expanding, universe expanding. At the end of brief history and time, he says, forget my physics. because my physics seem to prove there's a God and he's expanding the universe. You can't say that. So both Einstein and Stephen Hawking both agreed. Both agreed, according to science, they have no explanation. They have zero explanation. Now, I would ask them if they were alive today, find me an explanation. And if you don't find me an explanation according to science, and you say, oh, we'll find it, we'll discover it, whatever. Until that point, you have to entertain the possibility Genesis might be true. Oh, no, we'll never do that. We're not throwing our minds away. Do you have a better explanation? Most of the known world today believes in evolution. A lot of people believe in evolution, certainly in academia. Yeah. Even according to them, they're created on the fifth day, animals are created on the fifth day. They've shown that a monkey, which is a 1% difference in DNA to a human, a monkey, even if it has a mutation every second, will never turn into a human. Not enough time mathematically. Not enough time mathematically. Yeah. Not only that, they never found the missing link either. Oh, we'll find it. It's a big stretch here. Big stretch to say. But what's the alternative to evolution? Well, you have a few alternatives. Either a person be total atheist, right? It's hard to imagine. But let's say, so I'm going to be a total atheist. You mean agnostic, mean I'm not sure there's a God. Or there's only one other option, Genesis. That's the other option. There's no other option. So what are you going to say? People still swear by evolution. I mean, a lot of scientists don't know of evolution today, okay? But it's out there, as a legitimate thing. Yeah, that's what, also it said there are 974 generations before us. Right, so where was it? Right, not only that, what was God doing? Rashi says before he made this world, he was busy building, destroying other worlds. Now, what would that mean in simple terms? These other worlds could be much older worlds. Nobody was there, but it could be much older worlds. So, it's not a contradiction. I'm not talking about this world we're in now. That world's destroyed. Could be it's what happened to dinosaurs. Yeah. Destroyed in those other worlds. So it's not a contradiction. So what went on during that time? I don't know. Nobody knows. But I would say if God was busy building, destroying worlds, so couldn't those worlds be much older? Sure. So then what happened to all the years in this world? Yeah. Again, there are many things that we see that not only can be contradictory, right? We see in Tanakh a number of times seems contradictory to Torah. So that there are many things that we can make mistakes in. We can definitely make mistakes. So God says, Rashi brings down by Sidon, God says, let us see what's going on there. Who's we? The English plural we? Who's we? So Rashi says God's talking to the heavenly court. Why is he talking to the heavenly court? Showing his humility. Because I don't want to destroy, I don't want to destroy Sodom, unless he talks to the heavenly court. Does he need to talk to the heavenly court? No. Shows his humility. Definitely shows his humility. Okay. So if that's the case, what would I say? Rashi there says, but a person can make a mistake. A person can think there are two gods. Because he says, let us see what's going on in Sodom. Let us make man in our image. Who's we? I mean, simple complex. Me, myself, and I. Who's we? Could people make mistakes? Yeah. Could people come up with theories that they may think are logical, may try to prove to the world that it's logical, and it makes sense. Couldn't it be a big mistake? Of course it could be a big mistake. For sure it could be a big mistake. And a lot of people could fall into it, sure. That's why you have to investigate. Non-Jews also have to investigate. Not get caught up in false religions. We're going to say false religions are very good. If you don't believe in their savior, you're going to fry in hell forever. Oh, that's good. Fear. Fear is very good. You have to keep the masses ignorant. Don't question. Because if you question, you'll end up coming out of Christianity. That doesn't make sense. Fear is a good deterrent. But it leads to ignorance. It leads to people not questioning. It leads to people that have only faith. That's what it leads to. You leave your brain somewhere else. But it's all about faith. And that's bad. Why do you think they tell you not to question? So they'll dress it up in different ways, but that's the bottom line. Because they don't have answers. We understand why. Makes perfect sense why they don't have answers. Perfect sense. Yeah, somebody asks, is it allowed to draw biblical figures and events? What about animals and cosmic bodies? So there is a problem. There is a problem because the Torah says you're not allowed to make pictures. You're not allowed to make pictures of things in heaven. The sun, the moon, the stars. Not allowed to. Now, you are allowed to, it's not recognizable as that. Right? Meaning, a person draws a picture of the sun. But they draw a half sun with a smiley face. Right? Like on on the cover of Raisin Bran. I don't know if I still got the same picture, but remember years ago, I used to have a picture of a sun. Right? Sun, eyes, nose, mouth. But having a picture of it, let's say you have a great picture of a sunrise, right? Not allowed to have it. That would be forbidden. Yeah, or any of the celestial beings in heaven, right? Zodiac, planets. Again, there's a question, what does that mean? Could I draw it? Something in more than one dimension would be forbidden. Something crocheted or needle pointed that it looks like the sun should be forbidden. Picture of a human in more than one dimension should be forbidden. Yeah, so the question is, are you allowed to draw biblical figures? People, you have no idea what they look like. Right? So if you're drawing them, it's not more than one dimension, it might be all right. Right? But again, heavenly celestial objects like the sun, the moon, shouldn't. As long as it's recognizable as the sun or the moon or the stars or whatever. If it's not recognizable as like that, that's a different issue. I once had a tapestry. A tapestry of the sun going down over the western wall. Tapestry, not a picture. Right? But what's a tapestry? It's like more than one dimension. It's like coming out at you. So that's forbidden. I remember asking my Rebbe once, one Friday night, he was in a neighborhood where I lived for Shabbos. He had a daughter live there. So there was a picture on the parochets, on the covering of the ark. Right? On the covering of the ark, there's a picture of a lion. Right? Now, there's a problem. How can you have something that looks like more than one dimension? Right, looks like more than one dimension. Now you ought to have it on there. Right, lion's on it's part of the vision. It's one of the four animals up there. So how can you draw a picture of a lion? Right? How could you have it on a tapestry on a parochas that covers the ark? So I remember after my Rebbe spoke Friday night, after service. I showed him this parochas. So I asked him, how is that permissible? He looked at it once, he looked at it the second time, he says, okay, you know what a lion is. I was like, thank you very much. I think that's a compliment. He said, but look at the toes. If you look at the toes, it doesn't have the same number of toes as normal lion does. Even though it's in more than one dimension, right? Because it charts out. He says, it might be a lion, but this is okay. Why? Because it's not the same form of a lion. It looks like a lion, yeah. But instead of having, 3 toes or 4 toes, whatever it is, you have one less. He said that's okay because it's not like a regular lion. So if you make it in a way that it's not exactly the same, that's a different issue. Right? It's recognizable not as that, even if it's similar. Right? That would be the issue. Right? That would be the issue. Now, what if it's for educational purposes? That doesn't matter. There was the case, the Gemara says that when witnesses came for the new moon, and they say in the rabbinical court would ask them, okay, what did you see? Did you see it like this, like that, like the other thing? So they had slates, they had pictures of the moon waxing, waning, right, in different ways. So Gemara asks, how are you allowed to do it? There are explicit verses saying you're not allowed to do it. So how could you have them around? Right? Seemingly, we shouldn't have them around. Right? So, in that case, it's permissible for different reasons. But in general, even for educational purposes, you shouldn't have them. Yeah? So, for the new month, that's a different issue. That was a different issue. Right? Educational purposes, who says permitted? Right? I don't remember, when I learned this many years ago, I don't remember that being an issue. Meaning that for educational purposes, we say it's okay. Right? Seemingly, we didn't say that. Right? I didn't see anyone who said that. When I learned this. So what's going on? It means even for educational purposes, it should be forbidden unless it doesn't look like a sun. Right? You make it sort of like, with a smiley face, half a sun, whatever. Right? But you don't make it like it normally is. So put it on the picture of Raisin Bran like a person, it's got eyelids and all kinds of things, either eyebrows or whatever, and a nose and a mouth, that's different. But if it's something that looks like the sun, even if it's a picture, not even more than one dimension, right? Then that would be, that would be that would be an issue. So I guess if you do something that shows it's not 100% like that, then yeah, that should be all right. I remember I had a picture also. I went, there's a thing, you go up to Masada, before the sun comes up. Yeah, so when you go up, there's a certain place you stand. So when you see the sun come up, you go like this, you cup your hand. And you cup your hand, it looks like the sun's right in your hand. Guess what? After I was learning this, I had to get rid of the picture. A great picture. But, not allowed to have it. Not allowed to have it. Same thing with this tapestry. I mean, didn't spend a lot of money on it, but whatever. I had to get rid of it. So that's a problem. That is, that's a problem. So what about animals and cosmic bodies? Again, cosmic bodies would be a problem. Certain animals, if they're not on the, God's, what do you call it? There's a heavenly throne up there. If they're not up there, then yeah. So if they're not drawn in proportion, it's the same thing, and there's something different about it, it should be okay. It should be okay. What about drawing people? By the Amish, even though they're big anti-Semites in Germany, and everyone thinks they're so quaint and so nice and whatever. Well, they're big time anti-Semites. They were known to chase Jews who hide in the forest, right? Everyone loves them, in America. But the Amish, they have dolls without faces, right? So, not to have graven images. So the whole question, what about a bust? Can I draw a picture of a head, not a full body? So a head, even though maybe it's in more than one direction, if it's not a full body, maybe it's all right, right? That should be okay. Drawing, a full body, that'd be an issue, right? Sculpture of that would be an issue. Michelangelo's, David and all that and whatever, yeah, that'd be a problem. Definitely a problem. That'd be a problem for a Jew to do. Didn't all great rabbis talk about hell a lot? I don't think so. Yeah, who are we talking about? The Ramchal brings it down in he speaks about it in, what do you call it, in Derech Hashem. But a lot of that book is steeped in Kabbalah. Yeah. We don't make it the main thing of Judaism. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I want to get shredded here by some people. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And everyone will say, this world, that the mission says in Pirkei Avos, this world's only a what do you call it? A portico. It's like a hallway to the next world. Okay. There's reward and punishment. Torah speaks about reward and punishment. We don't see any clear sources, direct sources, that say, oh, we're talking about heaven and hell over here. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that. Yeah, there is a book, the Reishis Chachma spoke about seven levels of Gehenna and different things. True. But in everyday language, yeah, we're going to say, yeah, you want to keep Torah mitzvahs the best of your ability. There's reward and punishment. We do understand reward, God forbid, you get in this world, but you get it in the next world, right? There's punishment also. So we understand hell is such a thing. Yeah, but you see people get up there and speak about it like no tomorrow. Like that's the only thing to talk about in Judaism, how much you're going to fry in hell forever. Yeah, there's punishment. That's true. No one denies that. No one denies the 4 corporal punishments. No one denies there's no lashes. A person get lashes, right? No one should deny that. No question. But at the same time, how much did they focus on it? Even the Ramchal and Derech Hashem doesn't focus. That's not what the whole book's about. The portion of it, small portion of it, talks about spiritual forces, the evil inclination, right? How the evil inclination works, how a person can be reincarnated, and suffering. Yeah, he speaks about it. Now you would think, oh, didn't Big Rabbi speak about it? Yeah. You think he spoke about it in the whole book? He didn't speak about it in the whole book. You want to think he spoke about half of it in the book? Nope. Quarter of it? Nope. He spoke about it. I'm not saying not. He for sure spoke about it. In context of what he was talking about. In spiritual forces and all these other things. Okay. And then he went on to other things. Sometimes you hear people speak, and that's the only thing in Torah. That's the only thing. Besides blasting heretical rabbis. That's the only thing. How much you're going to fry in hell. Yeah. Previous generations, that wasn't done. I can tell you. It wasn't done. That wasn't the focus. This is about fear. It's what the Christians do. It's about fear. So some people like it. Okay. If a person likes it, and it gets them to repent, very good. I don't have an issue with that. I think for some it's overkill, way overkill. I don't think people can handle it. Yeah, I definitely don't think people can handle it. I understand where it's coming from. Yeah, but in previous generations, they weren't talking day and night about it. They were talking about repercussions for your actions. Yeah, talking about what certainly could happen there. Wasn't the focus of every single conversation. That's different. But you can say, isn't everything we do is for the sake of the next world? True. And even, what's the highest level? That we're not going to get reward. Okay. But that should be the last single focus of everything. If it's going to help someone repent, okay, I think it's overkill. My opinion. I think it's way overkill. It can be inspiring to a point. To a point. It can paralyze people. Now, some people want the truth. They want to hear it. Okay. There are repercussions. The person has to realize the repercussions. There can be serious repercussions. You know, I'm not saying people didn't speak about it. They spoke about it. Yeah. But did they speak about it every second of every day? I don't think so. Unless they were giving over Musar and they wanted people to understand the severity of their actions and what could happen. Okay. Yeah. You know, this aspect was not done the way it's being done today by some people. Wasn't. Doesn't mean it didn't exist. It definitely exists. We're not saying it doesn't exist. The question is how you use it. And I think some people get not only turned off by it, I just think it'll paralyze them in many ways. It's not helping them. It's definitely not helping them in that sense. Yeah, let me see other questions here. What do you do if you were forced to take a vow on yourself out of fear? So then you have to have regret and remorse, and you have to go in front of somebody. Then you have to say that I have, what do you call it? You have to go in front of 3 rabbis or 3 kosher Jews know what they're doing in such a case to annul it, right? If you're forced to make a vow, you made the vow. I don't know if we hold that even if you were forced, the vow is still valid. Let's say you made a vow out of anger. Your anger forced it, so you got to get it annulled, right? You have to get it annulled. Question is, by a non-Jew, is that the case? I don't know if that's the case. Then I have to check by a non-Jew. But if a person made a vow, they didn't say puli neder, they made it out of anger. Yeah, so they have to get it annulled. They would have to get it annulled. Even did it out of fear. So what? Fear is not an onus. It's not beyond your capability. You did it out of fear. Okay, you did it out of fear. A person could have done it out of anger. Could have done it for any number of reasons. Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why it was done. Fact is, it was done. Right? Now you can't take the words back. So now you got to get it annulled. Right? One way a person can get it annulled is if you would have known it was so severe and this and that, would you ever made the vow? Like there was a case I sat in Basin once. There was a woman made a vow against her husband. Yeah, they said, well, how'd you make the vow? Because in order to get out of the vow, they have to give her, they have to give a person a way to say they have regret that they made it. So I said, well, how'd you make the vow? So this woman says, well, I took a Sefer Torah. Like, you took a Sefer Torah, like, started screaming at it. I was like, what do you mean? You have to take something, Sefer Torah, tefillin, something, and they like screamed at him for making this vow. So anyway, they said, if you would have known, it would have brought out these circumstances and this and that, would you ever done such a thing? It's like, oh no, never would have done it. So they gave her, they nullified the vow, but then, then they basically said, if you ever do anything this stupid again, we have your name and your number on record. And it's like, oh no, I'll never do it again. I asked, why did you ask where she got to Sefer Torah from? That was my question. Nobody asked that. Okay. Yeah, that was a serious thing. But I don't think it applies to non-Jew. You have to get it known. Right? But it doesn't matter if you made it out of fear, right? It doesn't matter why you made it. Right? The fact is that if you made the vow, you made the vow. Were those generations the beginning with Adam and Chava? It's before. You're talking generations before that. Same way before that. No? I would assume it's before. Right? It was before that. And again, so if it's not in this world, and this world is bound by time and space, then it's not, those years are not added to the calendar. And even if they would be, they still wouldn't get up to 1 million years, wouldn't be close. Right? Wouldn't necessarily be close to that. So kind of a moot point. Someone asks, how you draw a biblical picture? We don't know. No, that's another issue, right? That's what I mentioned, right? If you have a biblical figure, you have no idea what they look like. So it's like drawing a picture of another person, right? That's true. Or maybe what they meant is like biblical events. Biblical person, you wouldn't know how they looked. I mean, you see pictures, of how they, in some books, how they think they look, but nobody knows. Nobody knows. Rabbis are in Kiruv do speak about hell. It's called Gehenna. Yeah, I understand that. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, so it's a scare tactic. Okay. So some people enjoy it. Some people, it puts the fear in them, gets them to move. Okay. I'm just questioning whether you need to speak about it every second of every day. I don't think you need to speak about it. I think people should be made aware of it. I think people, should understand the repercussions for your actions. Oh, I think that. I don't have any issue with that. I think it's well overkill. That's what I think. But, if it works for some people, very good. If it's going to paralyze people and they give them no out, like one person said, this person told me, so I feel paralyzed, I'm under onus. So I asked the great rabbi, I said, some of them want to say, no, he's doing something on purpose. No, he's being forced. That's onus. Beyond their control, they're being forced. No matter they know about Shabbos or not, they're being forced. So I asked a well-known rabbinic authority, and he said, you know how hard it is to turn someone into doing something on purpose? So I told this great rabbi, this is a number of years ago, I said, so the advice I gave was don't listen to what these people say. He said, that was good advice. Thank you very much. There are people that will do it. Okay. Remember one thing, right? I'm a big fan, people out there, in the trenches, Kiruv rabbis, Chabad. I think a lot of them do a lot of good work. Right? I have a lot of respect for what they do. A lot of respect for what they do. I want to make one thing very clear. A Kiruv rabbi does not make them rabbinic authority. What they know, they know. Okay. I've heard some people say certain things and they say this is halacha and it doesn't change, blah, 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 and it's not true. According to them, that's the halacha, right? Right? But it's not across the board. Totally not across the board. Sometimes I'll hear things will say, everyone holds this. It's not true. How do I know? Because I know. So that's a little bit misleading. I'm not saying all the time they do that. I've heard a few things. Okay. Now, can a Kiruv rabbi be a rabbinic authority? Sure. They could be. I don't think very many of them are. I mean, they know what they know. That's fine. Would I call them a rabbinic authority? No. Not what I'm thinking of rabbinical authority. Someone who knows most of the Talmud and spent years and years and years learning. Well, these people haven't. They've gone out when they're much younger. Okay. I don't have an issue with that. I definitely don't have an issue with that. So you have to know what they're saying and if what they're saying is true. And if what they're saying is true, fine. I'm not claiming to be the world's greatest rabbinic authority either. What I know, I know. I've asked my rabbi and other great rabbis different things. So I can say in their name. They said this, they said that, and that's what I do. Or I give advice in certain things. Okay. A lot of these people have never gone through the Talmud, not even once. Okay. They're good at what they do. I'm not saying not. Does that make them a rabbinic authority? No. And that's a mistake people make. It's a mistake. Does that mean you can't trust anything they say? I didn't say that either. What they know, they give over, they source it. Okay. Doesn't make them great rabbinic authorities. Depends what level of knowledge they have. If you tell me they've gone through most of the Talmud and they've learned for years and years and, they've learned other great people and then, okay. All right, I don't have an issue with that. It's all about credentials. I don't have an issue with that. I don't think many of them have. Just what I see. They're good speakers, right? A lot of good speakers out there. They say good things. Some people may say very strongly, I don't have an issue with that. That doesn't bother me. But sometimes when I hear something and people will source it and they'll say, this is what the halacha is, it may not necessarily be true. According to them, that's what it is. Like shaitos. Some people come out wigs and say, can't wear any wigs today. Okay, there's a problem in India with hair coming from India. That's true. And before that, let's say that wasn't a problem. So if you're Sephardic, yeah, they hold human hair. You put human hair on your head, it looks better than your own hair. Most Sephardic rabbinic authorities, not all of them, most Sephardic rabbinic authorities say a woman can't cover her hair with a wig. Okay. Cover it with a scarf, with a beret, whatever it is, if they're married. Fine. That doesn't mean you can't cover your hair with a wig. Plenty of Ashkenazic rabbinic authorities. Great Ashkenazic rabbinic authorities. Rav Elyashiv, Rav Sternbuch, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, others hold if it's human hair, and it's not a problem in India with Indian hair because of idolatry. And as long as it's modest, it's okay. So my Rebbe's rabbinical court, they don't hold the wigs either, right? So people would ask me, I bet my Rebbe's daughters, they don't wear wigs. I said, I bet you're wrong. How do I know? Because I've seen it with my own eyes. People make mistakes, okay. Right? If there wouldn't be a problem with India today, then that statement is not true. It's not true. Their rabbinic authorities hold. If it's human hair, even if it looks better than human hair, this wig, as long as it's modest and it's not too long, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. I've heard some people say, nobody holds that. It's not true. That is just not true. Now, I would agree there's a problem today with what, getting hair from India. I get it. That's a serious problem. I'm not talking about that. That's a serious problem. But to make it de facto statement, like nobody holds it, that's just not true. It's not true. What can I say? They're great rabbinic authorities. Hold not that way. And totally hold not that way. So, you gotta be careful. Everyone has an agenda. People call it the way they see it, okay? They'll even source it and very good. Just be careful. There was, if I had let's say like this. If I had a very complex conscious question, if I messed up something in my kitchen, I'm not going to a kiruv rabbi, any of these kiruv rabbis, to ask them. I don't think they'll know. Maybe they will. I don't know. Depends what level of knowledge. That's not where I'm going. Now, if it's an easier question, fine. I got plenty of people I can go to that, know more than me, so that's fine. If they have the knowledge, they have the knowledge. If they don't have the knowledge, okay. Think of it, well, you're not a rabbinical authority and everything. It's true. Plenty of things I don't know. I know enough what to answer. And if I don't know, I'll go ask if I'm not sure. But this is after 30 years of learning. In the next number of years, I'm going to make, I'm going to make a siyum shas. Going to finish all the Talmud. Then I'll be able to start learning for the first time. Start from the beginning. Not too many people, unless they're learning a page a day, they'll be able to say that. I mean, this is in depth. There's no joke. People can say whatever they want about me. You don't know this, you don't know that. You talk about things you shouldn't speak about. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm putting in the time. Over the last 30 years, a lot of time. And a lot of people out there in Kiruv have not. They don't have the time. They don't have the time. People go out when they're way too young. They need, parnasa, so they need to, make a living. I get it. And they have to learn on their own. They have to learn in depth. But how can they learn in depth when trying to save the world? It's hard. Or there are people out there who say, don't invite me to this, don't invite me to that. I need to learn. Right. That's the right attitude. But most people out there are very wet behind the ears. Some of them. They haven't been learning their whole lives. Maybe some have, whatever. But I guarantee the depth of knowledge is not there. It's very rare to find someone with the depth of knowledge if they're out there in the field. It's certain things they know, okay, not to answer certain things. What do you do if you get in this situation, that situation? So they may have to ask someone else, okay. World-class knowledge, it's rare. I can tell you it's rare. I've been out there. It's rare. So I'm just saying, you got to be careful where the information comes from. For most people starting out or don't have much knowledge, they have a lot of knowledge. I'm not saying that. We're not saying that. Can they answer questions? They know basic kashrus things and other things or more in depth? Sure. No, I'm not saying not. Does that make them a world-class rabbinic scholar? No, it doesn't. You tell me someone's been learning in depth 30 years, more, 20 years, 15 years. They learn by great rabbis. That's different. That is different. That's not what I'm saying. And one of the things, even when I was working in real estate, when I was in the States, like when I came back to Israel, someone had asked, so you probably didn't have that much time to learn this and that. I said, yeah, I went to this tractate, that tractate, the other tractate. I was in the middle of something else before I came back. Within 3 years, 4 years, I finished 3 tractates, 3.5. Because I learned in the morning. I had 3 hours. People couldn't call me before 11:30 in the morning. I had 3 hours. I had to learn for 3 hours in the morning. That's how you gain knowledge. But the most important thing about knowledge is what? Who you learn by. Who you get advice from. Who you go to with your questions. That's important. Individual knowledge is also important. But, I don't, unless the person's getting up early in the morning or they're stealing time to learn when they're busy out trying to save the world, I get it. They're in a handicap. They are 100% a handicap. They have to learn on their own at some point. Otherwise, they stagnate. Right? There's no question. So someone once asked me, they said, well, do you feel bad about your learning because you give all these classes and that? So I get stronger by giving these classes. Makes me sharper. But I also have, a number of days a week. I'm on my own. I got my mornings, number of mornings a week. That's a different issue. Still plugging away. Yeah, I'm not here to denigrate anybody, or put myself on a higher pedestal. That is not the point. I'm just saying that someone who's a rabbi in Kiruv, okay, understand they're a rabbi in Kiruv. That does not grant them world-class knowledge. Some people have it. I've seen it. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Some people. The vast majority do not have that wide scope knowledge. They don't. I'm not saying they don't have knowledge. I'm not saying that. Not at all. They've knowledge to answer questions, maybe in depth, and they've gone through certain things. Okay. Right? In the Orthodox world, it's about how much you know. It's about how much you know. So I'm not resting on my laurels. I just keep going. But you have to know where it comes from. So yeah, so back to the question, but there are people there who speak a lot about Gehenna. Okay, so let them speak about Gehenna. Let them speak about Gehenna. Yeah. If it draws people closer and helps, okay. Most people would say that's not the way. They would say it's not the way. Even if you tell me they're so successful, okay? I'm not going to deny that. Even if it is. Many rabbinic authorities will say that is just not the way to do it. Yeah, but your Rebbe speaks very strong in this and that. He doesn't talk about hell at all. Just about. He'll tell you you're going to pay, you pay the price. There's reward and punishment. You got to work on character development and, all these other things. I don't hear him talking about that. You know, Victor Miller, a blessed memory. He sat there and spoke about heaven and hell all the time. He didn't speak about it. Mention the severity of your sins, a different thing, okay. The great people of previous generations spoke really strong. Did not speak like this. But someone's going to say, but it works, and people enjoy it. Okay, I'm not saying not. I'm just saying it happened in previous generations. So much. And people have to give rebuke, and we don't know how to give rebuke and different things. Okay. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying it. It's, if it works for people, good. If it doesn't, understand that these things exist. You move on. You got to think about it. You got to think about the repercussions of what you do. There's no question. But I think there's a limit. Someone asks, better to start trying to say as many prayers in Hebrew as possible. Yeah, you got to, at some point, you have to, if you want to convert, you have to know how to read Hebrew, right? You have to read the prayers in Hebrew. So better to say fewer prayers in Hebrew with proper understanding than trying to say a lot of things and not understand it all. Just get used to saying it over and over again. So so you take certain sections, certain things, right? You say it over, say it to the best of your ability, try to say it again, try and say it a little bit quicker, right? Don't take on too much. But again, it's better to pray and say things, say fewer things with more knowledge than more things with less understanding. Was the Torah divided into parshas at Sinai? No, that was later. That seemed to be that was later. When exactly was that? That's a good question. Interesting enough, who was it done by? Right? Who was it done by? It was done. It was done by the non-Jews. Interesting enough. I don't know about the 12th century, 13th century, I think, in order to facilitate learning, learning the Torah, learning, Bible. So they're the ones that did it, interesting enough. And then, Moses established custom to read from the Torah every Shabbos. Ezra twice a week, at least Monday and Thursday. They don't go more than 2 days without reading Torah. Yeah. Well, it was divided up because it's easier. Instead of just trying to read it as one thing, they divided up into different portions. So it'd be easier to read. Anyway, they want to divide it into 52 sections. I don't know. I don't know. Let me see here. 1 second. Yeah, it's interesting. It's divided into 54 portions, right? That's almost so you got 52 weeks, right? Right. So you got 54 parshas, and therefore what? Some parts are going to be joined up together in order that you finish in 1 year, right? So you can't read it, if you read it every week, you wouldn't finish, right? You're gonna have problems also. What do you do if holidays on Shabbos? If they don't read the normal parshas, so you're gonna be behind. So then you have to double up some parshas in order to finish. Yeah. Let me see any other questions here. Someone here says, yeah, they use a washing machine parable, right? For Gehenna. Yeah, okay. Washing machine sounds kind of nice. Other things sound kind of nasty, but okay. Up to 12 months, person can be in Gehenna. That is true. But is it true that this is how Gehenna is for the people who are good? Again, you could be there maximum time of 12 months, right? That's what we always say. Kaddish for, let's say, if a parent died for 11 months. Why? Because we don't want to say that they're evil, and if they're evil, they have to be there for 12 months. Now, could a person be there a short amount of time? Sure, it depends what they did. right? It depends how bad they were. So bottom line is, even people who are good doesn't mean they didn't transgress. So I'd say like this: if they suffered in this world, maybe they got enough suffering, they don't have to be there for 12 months. Maybe they only have to be there for 6 months, right? Or let's say they didn't suffer enough. So yeah, they're gonna need all the time. Depends what a person did, right? If someone was truly evil, then yeah, they would be there 12 months. And after 12 months, they should be, what's the word? They should be purified to go into the next world, to go into Gan Eden. I heard somebody say, I saw a clip, I didn't see the whole thing, but like, come on, fire. Let's think about fire. You're not human at this point. You're a soul. So how can fire attack the soul? I mean, it's a good question, right? Human fire, you're a spiritual soul. What's fire going to do? So obviously it can't be physical. It can't be a physical fire. It could be pain that the soul feels that is like fire. Yeah. Imagine, what a person feels like when they're embarrassed. Anyone who's ever been embarrassed, right? We say is akin to murder. Now you turn white, then you turn red, right? So imagine, a person totally embarrassed. So some say that's what one aspect or part of what Gehenna is, that embarrassment. That embarrassment, what does it do? Cleanses the person. Totally, not totally, but it cleanses the person. Why? Because they feel the embarrassment. They're now, in front of God, understanding what absolute truth is. God's going through the record to see their life flash before their eyes, every last thing that they did. How could you not be embarrassed? So they say that's part of what Gehenna is. Again, that's part of the suffering. It's not the only thing. Definitely not the only thing, right? So some people, if they suffer more in this world, they'll have it easier in the next world. They won't suffer as much. Some people suffered less in this world. Yeah. Will have to suffer a lot in that world. Now, most people, you're right, most people want to do the right thing. They want to do the right thing, right? And they suffer. So if they're really righteous, only for, very small things they did wrong here, they could suffer tremendously in this world and not have to suffer in the next world, or maybe suffer a little bit in the next world. Depends what a person did, depends where they're holding, depends on a lot of different factors, right? A lot of different factors. The eternal aspect of Gehenna, yeah. There's some people that are really bad, which is not most people, and they're going to suffer, forever. Some people forever, some people less. Titus, his punishment, the Gemara says, is he had his ashes scattered over the 7 seas, and he had himself burned. So he said the God of Israel won't be able to judge him. So the Gemara says God puts them together every day, takes all the ashes, puts them together, and burns them again forever. Yeah. So some people have other, severe punishments, whatever they may be. But let's just say that, yeah, for some people that are really, really bad, they're going to suffer a long time. They're not just suffering for 12 months, because the soul, is forever unless God obliterates it. So the soul can take a lot. It can keep being punished, forever and still have something left of it unless God obliterates it. Nobody's that inherently evil. Some people don't have any portion of the world to come. They'll die like a dog. Poof, they die. Nothing happens. No portion of the world to come. Yeah, but most people are not that evil. They're just not. So some people have to be there for 12 months. Some people have to be there for 10 months. Some people 6 months. I don't have the list. I don't have the list over here for what. Again, it depends on a lot of factors. Depends on a lot of factors what people did. Someone asked, are Iraqis Arabs? I don't know if anyone's an Arab today. Yeah, they claim to be direct, descendants of Ishmael, a lot of them, right? But the Netziv in Emek Adover, his commentary, he was the head yeshiva in Volozhin after Reb Chaim of Volozhin. After Reb Chaim of Volozhin, he wrote commentary on the Torah, and when it says that he's a wild man, that Ishmael is a wild man, his hand is the hand of everyone, everyone's in the hand of his, right? The Netziv there says, these Muslims will never hurt one another, right? They'll be hospitable, to others. They'll do great chesed, acts of loving kindness for people, but they will not harm one another of their own. Yeah. So now, what about the Sunnis and the Shiites and all that? So either you say some of them are, don't go back to Yishmael or whatever, or you say that when Sancheiriv mixed up all the nations, he mixed them up also, so they don't have true blood. They don't have true blood going back to, they can claim it, right? But that would explain the Netziv, because the Netziv says, an Arab to another Arab will never harm each other. So how do you deal with this? He says that's what you see in history. That's what you see. It's up until 150 years ago, 200 years ago. So maybe that was true, right? That or well before that, but that's hard to say. He said, in other words, so how do you explain the Sunnis against the Shiites and the different groups and all that? So you have to say they're not the same. They don't all come from Yishmael. They're all mixed up from Sancheiriv. So from the time of Sancheiriv, I don't know, they weren't even Muslims. In his time. It was later. They claimed it later, right? So in his time, they were just, I don't know, like Bedouins. They're just like living off the land and, different things. They weren't even a group. Like who would have ever thought, this group would come and like try and take over the world, right? In many ways, have any kind of power. Before that never happened. Never happened in the history of man up until now, right? Up until recent history, last 100 years, more, right? So from time to Sancheiriv, mixed everyone up. So how can they claim to go to Yishmael? So that's a good question. That's a good question. But in general, how can anyone claim direct? If they're all messed up by Sancheiriv, hard to say. Right, very hard to say. One second. It's possible to make a blessing over a house bought by a Noahide under your tutelage. I didn't make a blessing on it. Make a tova meiti. Let's say you were going to buy a house, right? You make a shechianu. Can a Noahide make a shechianu? Yeah, why not? Give thanks to God for having a house. Did they buy a house? Sure. Can Noahides marry non-kosher Jews? No. One second. Non-kosher Jews, his mothers are non-Jews. If the mothers are non-Jewish, they're not Jewish. Right, let's make clear. A Noahide can only marry a non-Jew. Can't marry a Jew. If the mother's a Jew, then the child's a Jew. That person's a Jew. So therefore, Noahide couldn't, they couldn't marry them. If the mother's not a Jew, then you're right. Then the person's not Jewish, so it's not a problem. So cartoonish drawings of people, animals could be allowed. If they're not exactly the same, sure. Yeah. If they're not exactly the same. Because the prohibition really is seeing it in more than one dimension, right? Because that would be the question: how are people allowed to make drawings of the sun and the moon and the stars and all that, right? Just on a piece of paper. So more than one dimension would be a problem, right? But again, for drawing a person, a full person would be a problem. In general. If it looks like a person. So if it's a cartoon, it's probably fine. What can a Noahide do if he breaks a vow? Yeah, so that's a question. That they have to look into. They're bound by vows. They are bound by vows. The question is, are they taken out of the vow the same way as a Jew? Right? That I have to look into. That I'm not sure if you go through the same process for a Jew or not. Somebody, one second. If no one to pray outside prayers for you when you leave this world, what would happen? It's a good question. What happens? Then you'd have to leave in your will, instruct somebody, I don't know, like a yeshiva or some other institution, to set up every year to say Kaddish, to say mourner's prayer for that person. They're killing each other everywhere. I understand. My statement was, don't misquote what I said. The Netziv in Emek HaDavar says that Yishmael, the people who claim to come from Yishmael, will not fight against each other. So I asked the question. So what about the Sunnis and the Hittite in the Shiite, or the Taliban and everybody else? So they're fighting and killing each other left and right. True, right? So how do you answer up for the Netziv? You have to say that these cannot all be directly go back to Ishmael. They cannot all be Arabs and come from the same source. If you tell me from the same source, that can't be, because you see that's true. I agree. So my answer would be they don't go directly back to Ishmael, no matter what they say, because we don't even know who anybody is today. We don't know who anybody is because Sancheir messed everybody up. How can they make that claim? How could they ever make that claim? If he's saying in general, this is what would happen, but you don't see that today. That was my question. That was exactly the question. If they're fighting and killing each other left and right, then what the Netziv says can't be true. But it can only be true before, if they were really a people, which they weren't, but before the time of Sancheir, then that might be true. That very well could be true. After the time of Sancheir, then it's very hard to say. It's very hard to say that would be true, because you see what's going on today. Very true. Very good point. Does the genius Jew have to learn 50 years Torah and Talmud? Really know someone who's a genius, it helps to learn, it helps them learn, that's for sure. But there are many people, great rabbinic authorities weren't geniuses. They just sat and learned, and that's how they got a lot of Torah, and God helped them. Being a genius definitely helps. Having a photographic memory helps. But can a person be a great rabbinic scholar without that? Sure. But you know what it is? It's dedicate your life to this. Years and years and years. That's what it is. If a person has average intelligence, Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, Hashem Yikam Damo, God should avenge his blood, famous student of the Chofetz Chaim. Someone asked him, he said he had only average intelligence. So they said, how do you become so knowledgeable in Torah? He said, how smother, constant learning, constant reviewing. A person can have average intelligence and get to a high level. Now, does that mean being a genius, helps more? Sure it does. I don't think there's any question. You don't have to be a genius, but you're a rabbinic scholar by any stretch. Right? A person can have average intelligence. If a person's mentally challenged, you won't get there. That's a different issue. Right? But even a person with average intelligence, you have to work. You have to work. I'll tell you where the success is. You have to want it more than anything else. And even if things don't resonate and it sounds kind of boring and it's not interesting, it doesn't matter. You got to make it alive. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Otherwise, you won't. Otherwise, a person will go through it and superficially and this and that. And they won't. They may have certain knowledge, but they won't have world-class knowledge. Yeah, you have to love what you do. You have to, you just have to keep at it. It's a grind. It's not easy. People think, people used to say to me, oh, you just sit and learn all day. Yeah, you want to try it? 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. Trying to pick hairs of what different, great rabbinic authorities are saying and what practical law is, how much I have to know. A million things to know. And it's very rare where you see somebody's got it in their pocket. They have it in their hands. They have that, world-class knowledge. You don't see it too often. You see people that are specialists in certain things. Okay. Like someone knows something really, really well. They're expert in that field. Okay. And other things they don't know that much about. Right? You have to have broad knowledge. And even more important than the knowledge is who you listen to, who you get advice from. Right? You learn more from that. I mean, you learn a lot from your students also. Right? But getting practical guidance from people bigger than you is huge. I had that for a long time. Yeah. Personal guidance, could ask whatever I want, any topic, this, that, why not? Why this, why not that? Why, all these things. All these things. Other maybe a rabbinical court judge, I learned how to curse in Yiddish. It's got to be worth something. Yeah. But that's worth more than anything else. That's more, I mentioned this before about rabbinic ordination. That is worth more than the piece of paper itself. It's worth more. reputation's worth a lot. And if you get a great rabbi to give them their endorsement of you, that's worth more than the piece of paper. Get that in writing, but that's worth more than rabbinic ordination. Someone is a Torah giant generation, says he's okay, he can give classes, fit in to give classes. That's worth millions. Yeah, you're connected to the big people. That says a lot. Does that mean you have world-class knowledge? It doesn't mean that. But if they're willing to vouch for you, what does that say? That says you have credentials. That's what it says. Whether he could produce the piece of paper or not, that's giving you instant credential, right? No question. That's, to me, that's more important. It's who you learn by, who you go to. There are people who have specific knowledge. They're experts in certain things. Very good. Where do you find someone who's got world-class knowledge in everything? You don't find it too often. You don't find it. Right? That's why it's constant review and constantly learning. That's what it is. But, it's not always so fun. It's not, it's a grind. That's what it is. A person does it, they don't have a position, they feel bad, they should be doing other things. And, why aren't they getting the recognition? It's not about getting recognition. You're holding up the world. We're holding up the world. People sitting and learning. If they don't have a position. If they don't have rabbinic ordination, so what? They're holding up the world, going through the fight of learning Torah every day. That's huge. Huge. It's worth more than a position. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop there. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 5:00 Israel time, 10:00 Eastern time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Mike Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, Pirkei Avos, Ethics for Our Fathers, Book of Leviticus, controversial issues. Again, throwing out there, anyone interested, still some spaces open for one-on-one spiritual counseling once a week for an hour, discuss whatever you want to go through, difficulties in life, anything like that, livelihood issues, health issues, different things, or in a group setting, going to probably do both. We'll see how it's going to go, but still definitely opening. So anyone interested, you can text me, whatever you're interested in. Otherwise, I'm going to sign out, which I'm going to go.